super aggressive. I love them. Man, with those new wheels, it looks so aggressive. So the biggest problem though that we're encountering now is this is a 275, which is a huge tire. And given the offset being an offset 0 on a 15x8, it's so close to everything. Literally like almost touches right there, almost touches right there. Definitely touches the inside of the fender right there, touches the side skirt. This thing is a pain for turning, especially. There, it's warming up. But I think that we can kind of get it to where it needs to be. It's just a matter of kind of massaging it here and there. The wheel fitment on this is crazy. What we really wanted to do was get a nice fitment for the wide front end. Obviously, if you guys aren't familiar, this car does have a 3-piece front end, which is referred to something that extends the fender a little bit over more than what it would. That way it gives you better tucking of slicks or aftermarket wheels, big tires, whatever the case may be. So with that, the offset for regular wheels of this style, like a 4x100 wheel, a typical wheel, is really, really crappy. And the only thing that looks good are wheels like I have up here, which are my slicks. These are 13x10s, big deep dish. Obviously it's my slicks on there, 24.5 by 9.5 inch. And there were a couple different setups that I was looking at, and this was probably by far my favorite setup that I was able to find. And it's kind of a staggered what we ended up doing. This is a 15x8, 0 offset in the front, and in the back we have a 15x7 with plus 35 offset. So it's kind of different. And they make those wheels in a whole bunch of different sizes. We actually got these wheels at a really good deal. And what I got from him were actually these two wheels. That one's right there and the other one's right there. And as you can tell, this is a huge lip. That's actually a 15x9 0 offset. And if the 15x8 0 offset looks crazy, you can already imagine the 15x9 with 0 offset. It was way too aggressive for the front. So the deal that he had a staggered setup on his setup. Shout out for Jose for the really great deal. We were going to buy him brand new, but you know, he hooked us up. And they already had tires on it. So he had a 15x9 in the front and a 15x8 in the rear. His car didn't have fenders or anything like that. And obviously being a 275 tire, it's insanely hard to tuck these. So what we did, we test fitted it with the 15x9, took the tires off of those, put them on the 15x8, and then I just ordered 2 brand new 15x7s, which luckily you could buy these individuals. I got 2 for the rear and just regular 205 tires that I had before on the old setup. So that kind of mimics the slick and skinny setup by being a staggered one. So there's a little piece of the sticker right there from the tires since they're brand new, but you can see the correct fitment. In the rear, we have the thin tire that goes up with the chassis, and then in the front we have the wide tire that goes up with the fender. So in my opinion, this is probably the nicest setup that I've had on this car. What I want to change drastically is the ride height. This is still too high in the rear. The front I'm happy with. I have a little bit of clearance, and actually I think this side is a hair lower than this side. Let me see. Yeah, I think this needs to be raised up just a tad, especially since I'll be sitting in there and the weight's going to bring it down just a hair. But for the rear, I'm maxed out on these coilovers without taking the preload away. And these are true hard drags, which we're actually going to be switching these up in the next couple months. But that's going to be for some developmental things to go faster in the car and have a better suspension. You guys can see that in the future. But these are maxed out on the lowering side of things. Now, a lot of people have also asked me, what am I going to do about the rear bumper? I actually still have the rear bumper right here. It's half wrapped. I tried, and it is literally a pain to get the wrap around all the curves. On a normal car here, I think actually the Camry might be a good example. The curves on the bumper are kind of like smooth, and they kind of taper upwards, except for the trunk area, but they taper upwards and they're not anything crazy. On an Integra, it's like a hard cut upwards and then a hard cut downwards for the bottom of the bumper, since this is the 98 to 2001 bumper. And I've tried in so many different aspects, and honestly, it's a little bit more than I can tackle. So it's been in this state for maybe the last 2 months. I wrapped this section right here, and there's creases all around. It's not to how I love it, but this to me is like, okay, I tried it, whatever. What I was really upset was I couldn't get this bottom curve right, so I cut it just to see if I could mock it up, and it's still a pain. Like, to get all these little shrinked areas, it's really crappy. And then this side came out okay, but whatever. I still had the cutting tape down here, so I could cut the center and then do the red wrap, which I have right over there tucked away, the red and camo. But I think I might just end up taking it to someone because this is a pain to do that, and I want it to look nice. Obviously, the back of the car needs to look as good as the front, and yeah. But obviously, we're still looking at, you know, it looks like a good car. I really like it. I really love the fitment on the fronts, and it's gonna take some cutting. I need to definitely trim, like I was saying, a few areas. Right here, it touches a lot when I turn, as well as the side skirt. So I'm gonna take maybe a 1/2 inch off the side skirt right there, maybe 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and then, or at least definitely at the top section. And then right here, I'm gonna window it and take off that support, and it'll just be the bottom of the fender supporting inwards rather than having that big lip right there. So skip forward about half an hour. I had to run to the store, get some cutoff discs because I was out, and I actually trimmed a good amount in here. For example, right here, this lip used to originally be up to here, and it would definitely hit. So I notched out this whole section. I kept as much right here as I could to keep the rigidity, and this thing is still nice and strong. As for in here, this area did not hit, but it was out to like right here, and then it stopped right there. But with the potential of the car launching and maybe an arm having more load towards the front, it could rub potentially. So I went ahead and clearanced that. There were another little spot. Oh, the side skirt. I took off this amount on the side skirt, and it was barely touching when you would do full lock. So by taking off this much, it should do better. Now I did mess up the wrap a little bit by going like that and having a rough cut. And although the line is close to straight, the way that the wave of the wrap makes it look, it just doesn't look as good. But that's always obviously going to get touched up in the future. But this side I think is pretty much clearance. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think I might cut this right here as well. Maybe just this straight down. And I don't think it touches, but just to kind of complete the arch and add a little more clearance if needed. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up that side, lower it down. Well, actually not lower it down. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'll lower it down and go full lock to see how we're looking. So for reference, you saw how notched out the other side was. This is how full and boxed this area is. So like I said, I'll cut this section out right there, probably take it back 1.5 inches, and I'll take like 1/2 inch off of the side skirt and clean up this side as well, and this bottom notched section, just to try to get as much clearance as possible. Now, it's not gonna be perfect. I still won't expect full lock, because obviously this is a giant tire. Literally 275, 50, 15. You're not supposed to run something this big, and honestly the trans is probably gonna die given it's just a stock gear set in it. But, you know, we'll rock it for now and see how long we can make it work. And I'm just excited to try it out. I really love the staggered look. So if it takes some cutting, if it takes some fitting, whatever, we'll make it happen. So here's most of what I ended up needing, with the exception of a few pieces that got sucked up by the vacuum, but took out a decent amount. Not much, but I think it's gonna be just enough to clear those wheels. Okay, I'm gonna try this out real quick. This is with everything trimmed up. And let's see if I can get full lock, just to show you guys what it looks like. We go all the way left. That's topped out. Now before I'd get like halfway, and this tire would hit right here, and it would also touch the side skirt, it would fold in. Now I think it would barely have like maybe 1/4 inch to the frame, but I'm not gonna be full lock unless I'm like parking or something, so I should be okay for that. Now we'll go up to the other way. And that's fully locked the other way. And now originally I would hit just barely graze over this lip right there. And now it's all cleaned up and we should be good to go. So yeah, I am super stoked with how those wheels came out. The only thing that I need to change, like I mentioned, I still don't like how the rear sits. It's a little too high for my liking. Like I said, I have some different suspension that we're gonna be trying out in the next couple weeks. So definitely we're going to be playing with that. That being said, tomorrow I'm actually taking it on its first drive, like with this setup. The tire is a little taller, so the gear ratios are gonna be a little bit different, not anything crazy. We went from about a 24-inch tire to a 25.5, which is obviously a little bit taller. It's about 1 inch taller than what the slicks are pre-inflation, because they expand as you're driving. But I think that we should still be good since this trans doesn't have 5th gear. It's a 5th gear cuff on this stock GSR trans. So we'll be to advantage of having a little bit of a longer gear. first pull. I don't know, it's not even in gear. Like, what is going on? It must just be moving from like the load of the trans. But it's still definitely getting speed. Clutch throw. That's fourth. Alright, it went into fourth there. But it's like slipping. Something's wrong there. And maybe the final drive broke? But high RPM, clutch in, low RPM, high RPM. Let's see if I can coast it into the garage. So weird. It's weird. I think the trans broke, but it's like not totally broken unless the clutch is like slipping like crazy or something. This is super weird. Well, something's definitely broken. Yeah. Yeah, I did one pull. Like, I think I rolled into third, and it went, oh, and then it just let off. Was it loud? That was like half a mile away, a mile away. Yeah? Well, I guess we're not going to the track on Friday. That's weird. Let me take this off. Pop the hood. See what we got here. We don't have any crazy fluid down here. Sometimes if the trans breaks, you'll see some stuff right there, but that looks okay. First glance, obviously. I don't know. Well, we did just switch to these giant tires, these 275s. So what I'm guessing is the load from the new tires just disintegrate. I've had the car cooling down now for maybe about hour and a half. And I'm gonna do a test real quick. Set the camera right there and I'll hit the clutch pedal just to see if the slave is actuating. Thanks. Yeah, it was definitely moving. So another thing that it could be, which I don't think it is since this is moving, maybe the clutch got too hot, slipped, or it's stuck, or they welded together. I don't think it's that, since it was actuating like really weird in how the trans was still spinning, just not matching the gear that it was close to. Even in neutral, it was doing something weird. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna jack up the car in the front, turn it on, and then neutral, see if it spins the wheels, and then try to put it into gear. And like first, second, third, and try to see if it's actually gonna move the wheels or not, which I don't think it will. I think it'll either not let me go into gear, or it's going to give me some noises and stuff. So let me go ahead and try that out real quick. Right, it's in neutral. He brakes up. it's in neutral, it should not be spinning that fast. Spinning like crazy, and even without clutch it'll go into these different slots. Like that's third. Yeah, I definitely think it's the trans. Ain't no way that it could be spinning like that, especially in neutral, and just be idling like that. So I think, I mean, off the top of my head, I'd say maybe something in the trans broke and it's just stuck in a gear or something. I don't know. We definitely have to drop it and see what's going on. I want to say maybe a gear or a final drive sheared off. And we're back to square one. Stock transmission problems. Definitely on the list to buy. I need to get a trans. This thing is not lasting, especially not with the new tires. I mean, I could go down to a smaller tire again in the meanwhile just to kind of drive it around, but I really like the 275 look and the way that it grips. The thing gripped great. We were only on like 600 horsepower on that first pull, and well, the only pull. And it gripped perfectly, but obviously it couldn't take the load, the trans. And, you know, it's definitely part of the game. I mean, we've broken trans before, and this won't be the last time, I'm sure. It just kind of sucks to do it, especially on the first outing with those wheels. Another thing, looks like it was cutting in somewhere right here. I think it might have been maybe this right here. I might have to play with cutting a little bit more to clearance, but it wasn't anything crazy. There's a lot of tread, so could have been a lot worse, but still need a little bit more clearancing on that side. On this side, we're pretty good. It wasn't really touching anything. Yeah.